ecstatic to get into these games. It's been a nice little kind of hiatus for me because there was BlizzCon and I just kind of got to sit around and watch games, and now back to the casting grind, and I'm absolutely excited to be here with you.
I am happy you could join me tonight. I had a blast with you on Heroes Hype, and I'm glad we could make this happen once again. Tonight we've got a heck of a match lined up for our first game. It is IUPUI, who is currently, I believe, 6th in the training ground standings, versus I might be mispronouncing this. If I mispronounce this, guys, I'm really sorry. The University of Laval, who is currently ranked number 7th. So this is going to be a barn burner. I've talked extensively with IUPUI. They just recently went through a boot camp with some incredible results, they said. Taking games off of very, very top teams. So this ought to be quite the game. So this is going to be leading up to be some very, very interesting things, and I believe, I don't know, how long is the training? Do you know how long these training grounds are going to be going on? I don't believe much longer. I haven't looked. I know they go a certain amount of time, and I think we're coming up towards the end of that. I think they kind of coincide with the ranked seasons. So I believe this could be ending around December. So, but our first game is an interesting map, Warhead Junction. So I have very peculiar thoughts about Warhead Junction. I don't like how the meta has taken this particular map. But here we go. The map has kind of favored these cheese boss strats where you go to end the game quickly. Roll20 recently just absolutely demonstrated a clinic on how to take bosses and win a game early on this map. And I don't suspect we'll see that, but you never know.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of agree with you because I have seen kind of the same thing taking place on Warhead Junction. That's exactly it, where it's just, you cheese, you end quick, and it's just, GG's, that's it. And so I'd like to see more of, an interaction that's going to be happening here, but we'll see. The meta, as you said, is just very, very different back and forth on this map. So we don't really know what we're going to get. We could get a huge global, presence here that's going to be really just managing that macro game, or you could get something where you take like a Lost Vikings here and then you have like a gank squad. So a lot of really good options.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but a nice intelligent ban coming out from Domavarian right there in the Abathur ban. You definitely don't want Abathur here, unless you're going to pick him. Like, Abathur's an absolute nightmare on this map. His ability to push while sometimes those fights around warheads just drag out, and at some point you've got to pull a person to go deal with that push, and that just leaves you down a person, while Abathur just ultimate evos, and then your team's really in a tight spot. So smart bands. We see the Brightwing band come out as well, and that's I like that band. Brightwing's seeing a huge resurgence as of late.
Exactly, and Brightwing with the large AoE healing, that is really, really beneficial on this map where you actually do have to fight over these points. So that kind of overall team sustain that you can get is just a very powerful aspect to have. So the one thing that I want to note though is you don't want to deal with that Brightwing, because a lot of people started using her as that split push and just phase shifting in as needed. So just, it's a strong ban, and I don't expect it in the first slot, but it's nice to kind of get it out of the way.
Ooh.
But this is not surprising to me, honestly. I would honestly, in my opinion, I put a high priority on Dahaka, especially on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. Dahaka, for a lot of the same reasons you just mentioned, for Brightwing, global presence, incredible split push. a bit more control than Brightwing, but none of the healing benefits. Now, the thing I'd like to note about Brightwing is it is the perfect counter initiation when you couple it with an Arthas, things like that. And we're already seeing a potential boss cheese strat come out from Laval. They take the Zarya and the Morales instantly. I fully expect this Zarya to go feel the heat at 1 rather than anything else. That'll give her incredible boss damage.
I mean, that's just a strong duo at the start. And the other factor that you have to consider here is that it really benefits them too. At 20 or at 10, you can take that medevac. I mean, we've actually seen a lot of pickups on medevac because it is a very good defense tool for Lieutenant Morales. If she does get in a bad position, she can call it down and then potentially could get her out, or at least just buy her time for the team to kind of get there and help out. And the other factor too is just a map of this size. Taking that talent is going to be very strong. But a Rhaegar's old Jhin.
So they're pretty much saying, we see your healing, we match you damage instead. Excuse me, got a little bit of hiccups. So we see a Murden get hovered, and I mean, really, if BlizzCon, oh no, they go with the Garrosh instead, and if BlizzCon taught me anything, it's the strength of the Murden. So with them switching off to Murden, or I'm sorry, Garrosh right there, they're valuing Murden more than the Garrosh.
Now, just out of curiosity, there was that change to heavy impact. Now, do you think that we're going to see a shift on that 7 pickup? Because most people were taking it because of the fact that you can Goomba people. You know, it has been switched from a stun to a, believe, 80% slow, which is still very, very strong. I mean, that's Earthgrass Totem at 16 for Rhaegar, essentially. So, I mean, do you think that that might change it, or you just people might go for, like, give him the axe and just go for that extra damage instead?
It's possible we could see it give him the axe come out if they do go Murden here. But really, if they're doing what I think they're going to do, the 7 talent isn't as important. I can't remember if Skullcracker still gives attack speed bonus. I don't think it does anymore. But if this is going to be a boss cheese strat, I'm fully expecting to see a Sledgehammer come out. And Diva.
Ooh.
Okay.
Zoning is really, really beneficial. Mm-hmm. You can technically use the gust. You can gust. You can gust the Diva Bomb too. I mean, that's an option.
Does it affect an allied Diva Bomb?
I do believe so. You know what? You might have me on that. I'm not sure.
I don't think it does because it doesn't affect allied units. Now, you can into the Freya Bomb.
Yes.
Like, I always thought I could, and then somebody sold me on the idea that no, you can't. That got fixed, and I'm like, that's stupid. I wish they would have won that game. I'm so sad over that. But I don't. You're right. Diva does bring a lot of zone control. If she does take nuclear option, which isn't a frequently picked talent, they could gust people into a Diva explosion, and that would be an insane amount of damage. And with Zul'jin having to play that Razor's Edge of needing to stay low health, could just outright pop him. But Lucio, ETC.
ETC being picked up here so late in the draft is pretty surprising to me, because I honestly think that as a tank, he is extremely strong. And it's just a little odd to me that there isn't that much a priority on him. Because I mean, at this point, technically, I believe it's IUPUI.
Yep. Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis.
Oh,
go Hoosiers. Go Panthers.
They basically can have a double global at this point.
Yep.
With that stage dive, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see it. And a Gul'dan is very strong with that.
They don't have a melee tank here. They have nothing but range on the side of Laval.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to give ETC absolute fits.
They're really going to need to get in there. They're going to have to benefit from the flank from Dahaka, utilizing the brush stock. Look to see that really kind of disrupt. But Horrify is just going to be... They have a lot of good disengage and a lot of good poke. And I personally think that University of Laval, I believe it was, on the right, I think they've got a very, very strong draft. Now, as you said, they don't have any melee. Like, it's all ranged, but I think that could really work out for them here.
Yeah, I think in this case it will work out for them because they have two melee. They're fighting up against two melee tanks. Zarya's got her shields. Morales has the healing. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off. Like, everything is on Domovarian's shoulders right here to on the Zul'jin to get that damage out hard. I do think if they do get on them, that people are going to melt in a hurry. But again, Aqualad, and if I remember correctly, Aqualad has a disgusting Lucio. Like, perfect timing on sound barriers and everything like that. So I'll let you introduce IUPUI if you don't mind.
Sure thing. They will be on the left-hand side. We are going to have Aqualad on that Lucio, as you mentioned. TXZ is going to be on that Rhaegar. We have Bobby Frank on that ETC. Domovarian will be on that Zul'jin. And rounding it out, we'll have Zalori on that Dahaka.
And on the side of University of Laval, we've got Quantum on the Falstead, Electromad on the Diva. Everyone's all clumped up, so I can't see what's going on. It looks like Earthshaker's going to be on the Zarya. Harry Blob's going to be playing the... looks like the Morales, and Woka is going to be on the Gul'dan. And this is what I was talking about. Here comes Earthshaker. She does go feel the heat, just like I thought. Gets pulled in by the Dahaka, but no real follow-up right now. Just some tower shots, and Quantum making a break for the mid lane already. And like I said, with this feel the heat, Zalori can't get in close. He's just... Zarya's just going to do so much damage.
I can't believe this. They basically said that... I thought this was just going to be an early game cheese, but yeah. So in the top lane, they're just going to go for the fort, and in bottom, as we peek down there really quickly, we actually saw that University of Laval, they're going to kind of do the same thing. I mean, they can't make this rotation quick enough. The other thing, though, I want to note is that University of Laval is actually giving up quite a bit of an experience in this bottom lane.
Yeah, but they do have the experience lead right now, and they're already rotating towards the middle lane, presumably to do the exact same thing of what they just did, or at least they're going to come in and try to counter this pressure from IUPUI. Wonderful just play from Laval just now.
Just looking at the numbers, basically, there's like a 200 experience difference. And so, yeah, I mean, they really didn't lose out too much there. You're right. And, I mean, mostly because, University of Laval got that fort. And, it is early game structure. It's not going to give a whole lot. But the thing is, you're getting that value from opening up that top lane. It's going to be a lot harder for Dahaka at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder for Dahaka. The boss is going to have a lot easier time pushing down. Zalori kind of looking at this bottom. TXZ coming in on the Rhaegar, drops the Earth Totem, getting a good amount of damage on the Quantum right there. And Dahaka does grab that top tribute. As we move on to the bottom, it looks like University or IUPUI did get both, as Earthshaker is in a nasty, nasty spot right now. But here comes the Diva getting stunned up by the ETC right there. Domovarian. Oh, they've got both nukes on the bottom. Zalori grabbing the Zarya just now. Was she going to be able to get the kill? Heals come out. Not enough. The bomb is dropped. Diva's getting out. Aqualad using that speed boost to get everybody out. And first blood goes to IUPUI.
No, it was a phenomenal start to this matchup here. And especially with that fight right there, it really was a good back and forth. The thing that I'm really afraid about, and this is exactly what we talked about in draft with that Dahaka, we saw him going for that flank, and that's when he got that pull into one of the members. And I honestly think as this game progresses, if they're not aware of that and they're not positioning correctly, that could be something that's really, really... It will just destroy their composition. If they can get behind that Morales, that really just makes Gul'dan very, very weak. Now, he does have the ability to life funnel away some health. But I think he's going to lean on that Morales as a crutch very much so throughout this game.
Yeah, Morales definitely has her work cut out for her this particular game, being the only healer on this team. There is an incredible amount of sustain between the shields, life drain, shields on Falstead, but really it's going to come down to this Morales and how well she can keep that energy up and how efficient she can be with that healing.
That's exactly it. And at this point, we're seeing a really, really good defense from University of Laval. IUPUI is doing a very good job at the same time, though, of just making sure this lane is kind of not so much won over, but just kind of pressured consistently. They're not pushing on to the fort and taking advantage. They're just pushing the lane up and then letting the minions kind of just soak up some of these tower shots and just get the poke damage in with Zuljin.
And we miss a solo kill from Dahaka onto the Falstead. Not the hardest thing for a Dahaka to do if you grab him after a barrel roll, but I mean it's still kind of surprising in a matchup this tight so far. And with that, IUPUI take a level lead at this point.
And this is definitely what they're going to be wanting to do with that little bit of level lead. Now they're going to be getting these later game structures. And as I kind of noted before, early game structures, the experience scales throughout the game. So it's one of those things that, yeah, you can cheese it early. You get the lane value, you get the map value, this macro value, if you will. But at the same time, later in the game, holding out this bottom fort is going to push them over quite a bit. And that's going to be a nice bit of experience going into tense here. But at the same time, we do have a slide in from Bobby Frank onto Harry Blob, trying to just peel those members away. It looks like we have Earthshaker removed from the team. It looks like he will be the first one to fall in this engagement. There will be the tongue out from Zalori here on to the Diva. Looks like she will be using the self-destruct sequence here, but there is quite a bit of damage going on to the cooldown. He will be falling. There is the tongue onto Morales. She will be falling as well. She'll get back to the back, and she will be able to get out of here. Now, at the same time, Falsta's just been in top lane stacking up his quest and just pushing it up. So they lose these members, and I believe they lose out all those nukes too.
Yeah, it's just like you said. They dropped a nuke. In the meantime, Falstead did grab the nuke up at the top. He's hearthing back. Dahaka's coming in to clean up that wave, get that benefit, hits the bush for the extra speed, and they're still sitting on 2 nukes at this point.
No, this is a very, very good spot for IPIU to be in. Or PUI. Oh my God, I'm gonna do this all game.
Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis. IUPUI.
Oh, I see. I can't. I'll get it by the end of it. But either way, 10s are achieved, and this is a really, really good spot for them to be in. Actually, 11s are achieved here. And at this point, we could have Quantum falling the barrel roll out right away, just making sure that he gets no part of that fight. Realistically, University of Laval, they just want to soak up as best as they can. It looks like they're going to go ahead and do the boss on bottom while we have IUPUI boss in top.
You did it! Yeah, this is a really smart move. This is going to give them an incredible amount of push. We see Aqualad just kind of scouting this bush out, making sure nobody from University of Laval comes out. But at the same time, Laval is getting their bottom boss. Probably not as much benefit here as we see Dahaka coming in, cleaning that wave out. This keep is not much long for this world. And a nice aggressive play from IUPUI, right? Oh, we got the medevac coming in. We've got all 5 in the top.
This is the fight that they need to take basically right here. So Bobby Frank going to go ahead and back off. Actually, Horrify used it a little bit earlier there while they were already leaving. So kind of just took them in the right direction he wanted to go. There is the explosion zone out from Earthshaker. We do have Bobby Frank here on to one of the members of Zalori as well. The Gust will come out from Quantum, pushing them into this fight. The stage dive is going to come in from ETC, but he's going to get bodied off of the map. We do have quite a bit of damage, though, going out onto Gul'dan. He will get a shielding from Zarya, keeping him alive from that poison damage. We do have the dive in onto the Diva suit currently. Ancestral Healing will go out onto Zalori, able just to stay alive throughout this, and they will be slowly pushing these members back. But at the same time, they did get this camp over from IUPUI.
Yeah, it was a great response, but Quantum takes an awful lot of damage in a hurry. and manages to get out as Earthshaker is wanting a kill. The boot from Aqualad dissuades any further aggression. And we've got another Warhead spawn in the top and the middle. And this boss does achieve getting the front gate. And IUPUI probably should just go for that bottom / mid keep. MVP creep coming on right now. And here comes Quantum.
We do currently have this just being picked up. Now that boss and bottom, want to note really quickly, did take the fort, I believe, as well as probably the keep front gate. But at the same time, yeah, so they took out the tower shots, and with the mini wave as well, it will be pushing that out. They go ahead and steal away this camp on the side for University of Laval. And they don't have 13s yet, so it looks like they're going to go ahead and try and use the medevac to get out of here. There will be the knockback to try and keep people from getting inside of it. ETC going to utilize that stage dive in, going to get quite a bit of damage onto Harry Blood, but he will get zoned away from the Diva Mecha explosion. We do have Dahaka here trying to put quite a bit of damage. There is a break it down piece with Lucio. Knockback from ETC. Morphi used with the Gust. Looks like they will be able to try and get out of here, but Bobby will have another power slide in, and it looks like they're going to start chasing this. And if they can get some poke damage out, they might be able to keep them down on the side of University of Laval and potentially actually turn this around.
Yeah, it's a very good fight so far. It's really going IUPUI's way. Dahaka in the middle, getting an awful lot of work done, but he's getting super low. Bobby Frank tries to throw the nuke down. Nothing happening. TXZ in a lot of trouble. The expulsion goes down. Zalori almost dead. TXZ is probably going to go down. He does. And this is a beautiful turnaround for University of Laval. Zalori just running like crazy, using that brush stalker speed to get away, and manages to do so. Grabs a couple of creeps as a snack on the way out, and now poor Lucio is left dealing with this Raven at the top. Nobody on the side of Laval has grabbed that top nuke. This is kind of giving them IUPUI a chance to maybe come back in.
Yeah, it looks like they will rotate the Gul'dan here just so he can go ahead and collect this. And at this point, IUPUI is doing a very good job of just they're gonna go back to just lane management. They're gonna push these back out, and that's kind of what I had mentioned at the start of that fight a little bit. Was the fact that or midway through that fight is that if IUPUI chased a little bit too deep here, they could get the turnaround from University of Laval once they get to a certain point, once they have maybe some cooldowns back, and Gul'dan was getting some of that poke damage out. So it was a very, very good turn from them, and it really benefited them. They got quite a good map, control right now, and you can see IUPUI is just doing their best to just push back with some camps, push back these lanes, but they're not going past mid. They're playing very safe.
Yeah, really, IUPUI kind of need to. At this time, Laval definitely have the better team fight, in my opinion, at this time. But we've got a quad nuke spawn here, and this isn't going to benefit Laval nearly as much as it will IUPUI. Laval already sitting on 4 nukes, so there may be some kind of shenanigans getting ready to come out. But Laval actually waiting for this top boss to spawn.
They're just not showing on the map at all. But the other thing too, though, is this is surprising. Okay, I was gonna say IUPUI. They have to know. They see the timer, and the thing is, I don't think that Laval knows. So there is all right. So there's the stage dive in from the ETC. There is a nuke being dropped from IUPUI. There's actually a couple nukes being dropped here at once. Oh my God, we have so many of them going up. I don't know who's dropping them from who. We do actually have Zul'jin getting the kill onto Gul'dan, though, at this point. Will be stolen over by IUPUI. And we actually are getting quite a bit of damage here. There is another nuke currently falling just a zone. I think the Bobby Frank away from picking this other one up, as well as just getting this backline. We do have Zul'jin killing Morales. We do have the Ancestor healing going out onto Zalori. They will kill the Zarya. That will be the Diva mech falling. She is not long for this world. And that is going to be the entire team dominated. GGs are already called out, and it looks like they're going to walk in this top lane boss.
Yeah, I mean that was an incredible fight from both sides. Waka doing what he can to kind of get this boss killed, but really 3 nukes plus a boss. this is pretty much going to be game. I would have liked to have seen Zalori hold that nuke just for a little bit longer. There is, I believe, a Horrified that is off cooldown, but does not matter.
Like
yeah,
looks like they're going to be ending the game. They called the GGs, and they're gonna go ahead and take this first game. We'll go over to IUPUI.
That was an incredible game one. I feel like I called it right with the bosses pretty much being key to that particular series on that map. But University of Laval, like, they had a really, really good idea in that comp. It was really hard for IUPUI to engage on them. And it was,
I agree. And the other thing too is that I think that this composition that University of Laval brought to this game is really, really strong, but it comes down to the communication and practice with it, because I'm not, it's way better than that I could ever play it myself, but it's just one of those things. Like, there were a lot of like Horrifies into a retreating team, or a Horrify with a gust. So it's, there's communication things that that can be, tweaked a little bit here and there. But I honestly think that for a map like this, where you talked about, there's a lot of focus on these bosses, because it is much like Curse Hollow, you draft around a little bit of those bosses. You need to consider the boss control, and they had so much for University of Laval, but they just never were able to utilize those tools during the boss fight, time. It would always be cooldown, or it would be too early in the fight.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct on that. I think, I don't want to call it luck, but there was a lot of, I'll call, hidden damage in that last team fight. With nukes being dropped on top of nukes, the Diva Bomb coming out. It was just absolutely insane. And I think that IUPUI kind of lucked out by having their nukes kind of under all the other indicators.
Right. I mean, I honestly, when I was just sitting there, I was like, I don't know who's putting a nuke where. I was absolutely just confused.
Yeah. It does look like the next game I need to swap the teams around. They have switched sides on me. It looks like we're going to Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Tomb of the Spider Queen. It's an interesting map because of the way that you can see drafts go on here. You and I actually together have seen some very, very interesting drafts on this map with Asmodans, and I think we've seen Cho'Galls, and so a lot of really cool stuff that can come out onto this battleground. So I'm excited about this.
No, I am too, and we've seen that team that won Heroes hype with the Cho'Gall and the Asmodan drafts. IUPUI trolling their captain. That was one of the, if you remember, that was one of the University of Kentucky players who led that team that we talked to after they won Heroes hype.
Oh yes, I do believe so. Yeah.
Yep. So I am excited to see what both these teams bring to this map. Like, I'm already just heavily impressed with Laval. I have not seen IUPUI push this hard, and really this could go either way. I will not be surprised if this goes the full 3 and it comes down to just like that last map, just one team fight. Yeah. I'm sorry. I picked a bad time to pause on you, buddy.
No, you're good. I'm also thinking, it's just like, man, there's some good stuff that I'm like already thinking, I'm like, well, what are they going to be taking? Do they go into like a hyper carry like Gul'dan, where they centralize themselves around the wave clear, and then they just get a really good strong solo laner who can just push that out? Or like, do you go for a very aggressive comp where you actually take fights and you're rotating but you're fighting at the same time? There's the options are just always so excited, and I for this map, you can go in so many different directions, and the bans, as we're about to see here, at least what we're being hovered, the Tassadar, there's so many options. You just kind of want to ban what you don't want to deal with, and Tassadar here is a very, very strong ban.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Like, I always joke around about Tassadar pre-Templar will nerf, Tassadar being the best assassin NA, because you could literally play him like that. Like, with the amount of health you got back and the amount of damage that beam got upgraded to, like, you could out damage DPS characters if you played them like an assassin that just happened to have a really big AoE spell. But that AoE spell comes into great effect on this map.
He's also, I mean, I just love him overall. I mean, he's such an asset to almost any composition, because you're going to have something that benefits from him in almost any scenario, and even then drafting something that doesn't, you know, like a Vala, for example, is just very versatile. You can throw that into almost any composition. But if you want more dive, then you just pick up a Greymane. So, and then there's tons of other things on top of that too. But either way, this ETC ban is not a bad idea here.
No,
I'm very glad that they're putting some priority onto him.
One of the things I would like to see here is a Diablo. Diablo gets huge amounts of value on this map just because of how enclosed it is. You get that additional stun off of Shadow Charge quite frequently, so it's easy to finish that 13 quest in a hurry. And then with Dominate at 16, like, it's just boom, you smash them into a wall twice, and there goes essentially 60% of their health. Easy pickings for your DPS characters.
That's true. The other thing that the only thing that I want to note on that is like, because I've been like watching a lot of drafts and like trying to learn more and more like about like just looking at drafts and being like, you're banning this, you're taking that, like how peeking into it, and like the only thing that I've always noticed is like, so for example, like a Muradin right here, this is the perfect first choice because you're mentioning Diablo, and I love Diablo, and I think he's a very good choice, but the only thing that I worry about is that if you pick him up this early into a draft, that might signify that your team is going into, like, how I was mentioning some of the ideas for this map where you can be aggressive, so it might show that they're going dive comp, so they might try and counteract that very early. You know, you could see a Stukov come out, you could see a Brightwing, so that just counteracts, you know, Diablo dives in with the Shadow Charge, polymorphed, and he's got nothing, or there's a Silence from a Stukov, he can't get the Overpower, he can't get the Shadow Charge out, so... Diablo I really hoped for, but I honestly don't think we're going to see him into the later half of the draft realistically, maybe as like a secondary tank.
Well, and the thing I'm worried about with IUPUI is they're using Candy King Muradin.
Yes, thank you.
You've seen my pinned tweet, right? Winners don't use Candy King Muradin.
I think I got it when I first started playing the game, and I made a disgusted noise, and I don't think I've ever like touched it since then. Like,
I hate the Candy King Muradin skin is an affront to God. If aliens come by, Candy King Muradin is the reason they'll blow us up.
They'll
hear like Bach and like all that bomb classical music from back in the day. They're like, these guys are all right. Then they'll see Candy King Muradin and go, nah, these guys got to go. I'm
glad that Earth is solely based on the use of the Storm artwork, but I don't blame you for that reasoning though.
It'll be that, or somebody forgot to turn in some paperwork to the Vogon office.
Something.
Yes, he got the hitchhiker's joke. I love it. So. We've got Rhaegar and Malfurion out of the side of Laval, and that's just a god-awful amount of healing and control on their side. Mm-hmm. That's just disgusting.
I wouldn't be too surprised to actually see some sort of... Well, I'll let you have your thought first.
Okay, so Uther Sonya. Uther, best healer in the game. They're using the correct skin with Uther. Lumberjack Uther, the only Uther around. Sonya, you always take Barbarian Princess here. She is... godly on this map, incredible solo laner.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Poison Spear for the high dive damage too. Mm-hmm. So for their composition, like I personally, so this is what I'm talking about when I was like, I went on a long ramble about dive compositions. Muradin doesn't show where you're going, but it looks like they could take that heavy impact. You've got Sonya for the spear in. You got Mythical Spear, which it always pulls later in the half of the game. Poison Spear earlier in the half for that little bit of initiation with that damage. I honestly expect a Greymane to be picked up, unless they pick it up on this side of the University of Laval. Because I was going to say, what is terrifying about Greymane? D-Shield Greymane. That is a horrible thing that no one wants to dive with, like deal with a Greymane around them who's just swiping and clawing at them, and you can't do anything besides wait for the D-Shield to be over.
You know what else is really terrifying is if they pick another healer up, like, I don't know, Morales, and they D-Shield and Illidan. I don't think it would work in this case because you got Ragnaros, you got Greymane, you got a good bit of control. They've only got one cleanse, though. But Illidan would give them a pseudo-global presence.
I mean, realistically, because the map's so small, they would have, like, because he won't have to rotate, like, halfway through the map just to get the hunt. Like, if they do go for that at 10, like, that's a pretty good option.
Well, we're about to see what they're going to go.
You were... That wasn't... Honestly, I prefer the Illidan over the Zul Jin.
And we see the solo Stitches tank. Now, see, 50% lands me like a $50 million contract in baseball.
So there you go.
I'll take it.
That's the best way to look at it, realistically.
Now,
but
I like this comp because they've got the slow, they've got the root. Stitches hooks somebody, Mouth drops the root. Greymane and Ragnaros just obliterate them. So think of it as like a kind of jank Stitches Tehran comp. The problem is they have Uther and Morales. So whoever gets rooted is going to get armor from Uther as well as more armor from Morales, and they're both going to be healing them, and you're not going to be able to kill that person. Unless this Stitches is Tom Brady or I don't know, Beckham, and he can just thread needles all day.
Hey, you never know. I've seen some Chromie mains out there, and they've absolutely annihilated people. There's been for NGS. I think there was someone who was done like sub 7 minutes with the Chromie stacks. Absolutely insane. Sorry. Either way, going to introduce the team. On the left-hand side, we're going to have University of Laval with Harry Blob on that Rhaegar, Waka on that Greymane, Quantum will be on the Malfurion, Earthshaker will be on that Ragnaros, and Electromad on the Stitches.
And on the side of IUPUI, Aqualad is going to be on the Morales TXZ on the Uther. He changed away from the Lumberjack. I suddenly fear for IUPUI. Bobby Frank missing the Stormboat on the Muradin. Domovarian is going to be reprising his role on Zul Jin. And we got Zalori on the Barbarian Princess herself, Sonya.
And it looks like she will be that solo laner in bottom, as we were kind of mentioning in draft. But this mid lane will be where all of our excitement is going to be. I wouldn't be too surprised to see a 4-1, having a 4-man rotation between top and mid. And then we're going to have actually Greymane soloing up against the Sonya, which is, I was actually expecting, no, they rotate 3 members down into her. And are they going to try to go for an early gank here?
No, they don't have any lockdown, so Zalori, even if they were able to go on her, she just walks away, spins to win away. So they leave her alone, clear out that mid wave, and head on back to the bottom. It does look like IUPUI are a little bit slower on the wave clear. They're a bit more spread out right now. 0 for 2 that I've seen from Bobby Frank so far on this Muradin. He dwarf tosses himself out of there, and now we see Domo using those axes to get a little bit of damage onto that wave. For some reason, I just have a huge amount of hiccups.
We are going to have, though, a little bit of just a skirmish here in mid. Nothing too crazy. We just have a rook going out from Malfurion. A little bit of zoning here, but at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised to see these rotations become standardized and these teams realistically play safe and just aim. Ooh, actually, a little bit of a dive here onto Earthshaker here from Zalori, but the Harry Blob and... Okay, so they gets down to half health and gets away, and they just kind of back off here. But realistically, I would expect the teams to kind of play safe, lane up, and just kind of work towards that first 50 gems, then try and really make a big play then.
Yeah, they really want Zalori here. The damage coming out, but again, no lockdown between those two, just the slow totem. So again, she spins and just walks away. Bobby Frank turning in some gems here real quick. Zalori getting awfully low on the health. Maybe yelling at Aqualad.
Definitely, but I mean, did take actually, we have a little bit of a fight here currently happening in mid. Electromad doing a little bit of damage onto some of these members, but they kind of just, back away and they just go ahead and go back to their laning phase. Yeah. But at this point, the one thing I was going to note here is actually Sonya took block. She went for block over the Warpaint at level 1. Which is a little bit more for that sustain, and in this bottom lane now, she is probably getting the value up against these two. But at the same time, I just think that it's very difficult. Looks like we have a little bit of a skirmish though happening. Also, oh, never mind. I was looking at the mini map and I was like, a little bit of a skirmish, or they're just kind of dancing around, and I think that's just about it.
Yeah, they were looking for Domo right there. The hook goes out, the roots to follow. The stun hits Malfurion. Quantum in a lot of trouble. Here comes the dwarf toss, and Bobby Frank just hungry, a little too hungry, I think. Quantum able to survive on just a sliver of HP right there.
And it looks like they will just be able to get out of there, and we actually have Sonya at the last second just getting bodied through the gate. She will be losing out on, I believe, like somewhere around like 15 or so gems. Like she was holding quite a few, and so that's going to be a bit of a hurt to IUPUI's bank account here. Now, they are going to be getting actually, they have enough returning on the side of University of Laval, so it's definitely something that I would look to see that they should take advantage of now that the Sonya was kind of knocked down, and, they can push up that lane and get a little bit more value from that Web Weaver.
Yeah, Uther did finish his silver touch, but because of that death, they do get the kill. Oh, nice stun right there. Uther running up with that well met, and Sonya's following up with that spear. And that's a pretty bad kill, because you never want to see your Ragnaros go down this early. And now Zalori is probably just going to be able to get this this Web Weaver for free, but decides to engage onto Harry Blob instead, using that spin to win to get that additional damage. Probably be saving that for the Web Weaver.
And it looks like, yeah, they should be able to kind of clear this out quite easily. In mid, though, it looks like they've put quite a bit of pressure onto the gate there, and they're pretty much just going to be able to clear this out. And realistically, they get a little bit of value here. Now, Sonya in bottom lane is going to go ahead and actually get pushed into her behind her gate. And now that Earthshaker is back, this is a little bit worrisome, because Zalori is a little far out, does get the chain onto Earthshaker. Greymane will be falling here in this little bit of skirmish that was happening, but Zalori just getting chased out, and looks like they're going to try it for the fort here.
Yeah, they should be able to get this between those two, and Zalori should probably be backing up in a hurry, because if she sticks around a little too long, Earthshaker's going to come in, drop that Molten Core, and just bomb her.
That's what I'm afraid of, too, because if Zalori can't disengage quick enough, because, yes, there is the build-in for a few of the things like, Poison Spear, so we are probably going to see that Mythic Spear as we get into 13, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, there's no real disengage, so if it was a little bit too close, that could have been very bad. Now, do have a little bit of a chase here onto Malfurion, taking quite a bit of damage. Quantum actually going to be dove on, and they will be getting the kill onto him, and that's actually a follow-up stun onto Stitches here, who could potentially be falling with like 100 health. He gets out.
Yeah, that was a very dicey situation for Electromad right there. Just surviving by the skin of his teeth, and we're waiting to see. And TXZ is going to secure the web weavers for IUPUI, and they need to get as much push in as possible. And we do see Ragnaros taking the siege camp in the bottom, and that's going to be a huge benefit to defend this web weaver phase.
No, this is going to be really, really good for them because of the fact that it will just strengthen that lane, just offer up a little bit more of a delay here, and so they can realistically focus on clearing out the lanes. I really like what University of Laval is doing here. They're really prioritizing the top lane here. They can take this fight into mid because of the fact that they do have 10s, but making sure you keep your top lane strong on Tomb of the Spider Queen is a very, very important aspect. Mostly because of the fact that this is the boss lane. This is your win condition. You could get spiders and boss and walk it down the lane. But it looks like we're going to have Ragnaros going ahead and popping Molten Core, utilizing that to clear out this bottom lane. And realistically, IUPUI didn't get much, if any, value from this web we return, and they just kind of held off.
Oh, we got a gorge.
Stitches.
And there's the root. The Unstoppable comes out. Great cleanse, saving Bobby Frank's life. The meatball comes down from Ragnaros and just does a little bit of harass damage there at the end. But Laval in a pretty decent lead, a full level lead right now, as IUPUI just now get their level 10s.
No, this is a very good spot for them because of the fact that it's still early in the game. If they can start to take a couple fights here, they can really change the momentum of this because and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to pop Wrath of the Berserker from the Sonya. She will use the spear on 2 Stitches, but they're just going ahead and disengaging. They know exactly what IUPUI wants to do. They want to take this fight and start to kind of just, if they can get a kill, they can, push back the lanes. They can get a little bit of map control. But at this point, they're going to sneak a few gems in here and just kind of we're actually going to dive onto Earthshaker and get a kill, and this is exactly what they want.
Yeah, and no real surprises for this composition in terms of ultimates. We've got, Bobby Frank just diving in with that piercing bolt. Quantum barely survives. The Ancestral Healing just coming through at the last minute. The D-Shield comes on to Zalori right there, and now he's got to get out. The healing from Morales, just an absolute benefit, but that Ancestral was literally the last possible second.
That was an absolutely amazing time. Like, that timing was like, ooh, actually, we have a hook and gorge in on one of the members. I believe it was the Sonya. Zalori will go ahead and try and spin out here, but will get killed by the tower. And it looks like University of Laval is kind of doing the exact same thing IUPUI just did. Like, they're trying to, if they can get this kill, they're trying to keep the momentum. You can see that they're going for this fight. If they can get this, they'll push them up to 13. They can get that, then they can start to push up even further. Just noting really quickly, in that top lane, looking at the mini-map, looks like that top port will be going down to the minions. They're going to dedicate a few of the members up here, I would expect, to try and push this down, make sure that they open this up, because as I was saying before, boss lane, top lane, it's important on this map.
Oh, but IUPUI, they want to fight. They are not backing down from this challenge that University of Laval is giving them, and they're kind of on a timer right now because Laval is almost level 13, and they'll get that next power spike. We see Zalori pretty angry at this point, wanting a fight. Exactly,
and the other thing that I want to note here is I think that realistically, if they can get a kill, and then they can get turn in right after that, and they don't have 13s on the side of IUPUI. This is a lot of ifs. That could be just absolutely devastating for them. And realistically, that's the goal here. There is a little bit of a skirmish here happening. There's a lot of posturing around this turn-in point right now. Looks like they're just trying to make sure that they don't get this turn-in while they have this advantage, because they're going to start to push in. The hook does go out, but it does not connect. That could have been exactly what they needed.
Yeah, we see Electromad taking a fair bit of damage. Bobby Frank going in, trying to do everything he can. The Wrath of Berserker goes off, but the Laval does get the Web Weaver face. Earthshaker running back, tapping the Molten Core. And now IUPUI need to get out. Lieutenant Morales goes down to the Molten Core, and in the meantime, Sonya just way behind enemy lines. This mid keep is probably going to be forfeit at this point, as well as that top, which has already gone down.
This is exactly what I was talking about. This is what University of Laval wanted. They needed those 1-2 kills, and they got it off the healer and the solo laner, which is really, really strong for them. They currently have Rag pushing up bottom. They have that top web weaver just naturally pushing. It won't get a whole lot of value, but the thing is they opened up this map. And Tomb of the Spider Queen, it's very, momentum based. A lot of these maps are, but very much so. You can see it right here. Once they get these lanes pressured up, look to see them maybe, try and take a fight, because 16s are also almost achieved. Actually hook on to Domovarian. We actually have the rest of the team walking away. There was the route to zone a few of the members away. They do dive on to Zul'jin. He does get the guillotine out, doesn't kill anyone, and they're going to start to push right back onto this. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the momentum. This is the pressure, and they are doing a phenomenal job with it on the side of University of Laval.
Yeah, they definitely are. This web weaver is almost dead. Bobby Frank jumping out just in time. Throws the stun onto Electromad, and they are going to be able to keep this mid-keep alive for now, but the siege continues. Electromad getting speared by Sonya right there. The D shield goes out onto her, but really not a whole lot of damage, but they're not giving up. They're fighting down 16-13. They need to get some kind of kill. Here comes the stim drone. Oh man, pop goes
an absolute
weasels. Turnaround. Yeah, this is probably going to be game. That all happened really, really quickly too. The stim drone,
they tried. They got the stim drone out, and then Zul'jin was weak enough, and he got that guillotine, but it missed, and the ancestral hit the Malfurion at the perfect time, and they only lost the Ragnaros here, but they wiped the team. And it looks like we've got a series on our hand. We're probably going to be going to game number 3 here.
Yep, definitely are at this point. Ghost Uther doing some sick dance moves. And this game is tied up 1-1. Or is it?
Or is it is the question. Do we have a Caleris core? No, we don't. Okay.
No, that almost, though. Look how close Quantum and Electromad were right there. That was very close to being a Caleris core. So,
I love back and forth games like this, and this is one of the reasons why I love Tomb of the Spider Queen, because of the fact that there are a lot of these aspects that you want to consider of pressuring specific lanes during points of the map. You saw a lot of priority in the early game of them pushing back that bottom and a little bit of that mid. Then you saw them transition to the top a little bit. Then they really focused on that mid, and that's actually how that was their win condition. But overall, they kept a very, very good pace throughout the game on the side of University of Laval. IUPUI just, unfortunately, they couldn't handle the consistent pressure from the double support, as well as the fact of just, the overall damage that came up from these heroes. I mean, just Greymane 45,000 hero damage, it's quite good.
Yeah, no, the University of Laval played that absolutely perfectly. They had the right idea. They knew the game plan that they wanted to execute right there, and they went for it 100% of the time, and it paid off. They knew they wanted that lockdown comp. They got the stitches. They got the Malf to extend that lockdown, and that was filthy. It was filthy. They almost didn't do it because they didn't have a whole lot of creep support on that core push. And if they had gone down, I fully would have expected IUPUI to just barrel down. I think they had a fort down at bottom and just go for it.
I mean,
whew.
I love games like that, and even then, like that potential for that 1% core or whatever. That's always so exciting to see in these matchups as well. Like that's one of the things that is really, really, really exciting about this game is how it can rubber band very quickly back and forth here. But either way, I mean, next map, just Infernal Shrines. This is interesting. This is an interesting map, and I'm curious to see if we're gonna get some household picks from some of the members, because I have seen and heard things. So I'm curious to see if we're gonna get some comfort picks or if we're gonna have some respect bands.
We might see some of both, honestly. I am expecting a crazy game 3 right here. I wouldn't even know how to say how these drafts are going to go at this point. As always, I kind of expect it to kind of stay within meta, but every once in a while, you'll definitely get that off meta pick. You'll get.
I mean, a lot
something
of
crazy.
A lot of the time, what I've been seeing a lot lately is there's been a lot of priority on the Chromie on this map, and I think it's a really good choice. Much like how we kind of see Li Ming used, you can see Chromie used for that artillery to drop sand on that shrine. I mean, it's essentially a dartboard, and you're just trying to hit one of the enemy members, and they're gonna be within that circle essentially. So that's definitely something that I would look to see on this in this matchup here.
Yeah, definitely. Should be very exciting. Let the teams know that the casters are indeed ready at this point. And here we go into the draft for Infernal Shrines for this decisive Game 3 between the number 6 and 7 teams in the Tespa training grounds. I am Zexorus. With me is my friend Bahamut.
How you guys doing? I'm ready. Like I'm too ready for this. Just the one thing that I'm most excited about on this map is the potential for there's some interesting pickups because of the fact that you can see a lot of these fights around these shrines. So things like Chogals, things like you see just pocket or hyper carry like Gul'dans and things like that are just absolutely phenomenal heroes on this map, and I'm hoping that we see some of them. I already talked to my excitement about the potential for a Chromie pickup here, but we'll see. I don't know. What about you? Is there something that you particularly like when you see this map, or?
I'm a huge dork, and I like Rexxar.
I mean, he works. He also does.
He does. But he's more of a Braxis guy.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much an Infernal Shrines guy. But I've seen some Rexxars put in work on Infernal Shrines and just do really silly stuff, like not show up to team fights for 10 minutes, but they took animal husbandry at 4. So you show up with this ultra beefy Rexxar and Misha that you just can't kill.
It's just forever. I mean, they never end because just the baseline health is just it's been 10 minutes. Like, it's just been sitting there stacking in lane and no one's dealt with it because they're just like, they'll be down a little bit in levels, but at the same time, we're not considering this late game. It's much like a Cho'Gall. Like, he ramps up throughout the game, and post 10, it's a different game you're going to be playing. I mean, much like any draft, realistically, post 10, it's a different game.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's one of those things. I'm excited. So at this point, we're gonna have a Sonya and a Rhaegar band, and a first pick Tassadar.
Well, that's gonna be a problem. Tassadar incredibly strong here. It's one of his, like Tomb of the Spider Queen. This is one of his better maps. The vision he gives sniffs out potential incoming ganks when you're at a shrine. The AoE takes care of those skeletal minions like nobody's business. And Archon or Force Wall. I love that Archon and Force Wall are both viable options now. Before it was just straight Force Wall every day. Force Wall probably will see a lot more mileage here just because of how many areas you can block escape off. Mm-hmm. With it, so
it's a lot of corridors, and it's really beneficial. But IPIU, I gotta say that's such a strong start to a draft.
Yeah, Brightwing and ETC right there. I'd like to see this, maybe this ETC get paired with an Arthas later on, just for that ultimate counter initiation. On top
Arthas
of
would work in the solo lane.
Arthas would work incredibly well in the solo lane. There's that.
I like it.
And then Brightwing and Arthas is just a nightmare for any dive comp.
Do they maybe go into a Vala with a Garrosh at this point? You go for the repositioning so you can just isolate heroes from the team. And instead of instead of it being sort of a dive comp, it's more of like a pull comp. Like, if you prioritize yourself around that pull toss, and then you just get the blow up damage into the later half of the game. Okay, they go. Okay, Muradin. I like that.
I don't know what this fascination is with Candy King Muradin. I mean, did they not learn from IUPUI last game?
I mean, you're technically not wrong. You did call it. You said that they would lose because of the fact that they picked up Candy Cane Muradin. So, you know what? We'll be able to test it during this matchup here. I mean,
I'll just call it right now. Congrats to IUPUI for winning. I mean, winners don't pick Candy King and Muradin. I don't know how many times. It's my pinned tweet, for crying out loud. I don't know how many times I've got to say this. Ariel, banned out. Smart ban.
So this is one of the things that I was gonna discuss really quickly, because of the fact that I was gonna talk about with the Garrosh. Into the 10s you get Force Wall, and then you can pair that well with the Ariel because you can whip into Force Wall. But overall, I mean, Ariel would have still worked with the composition regardless. She would have paired well with the Vala. They know that they're going into a secondary healer because of the fact that they're not going to solo Tassadar.
You know who else pairs really well with Force Wall? Diablo.
That is true. And we could look to see that on a map like this, he would work in the 4-man rotation if they do go for something like that.
Mm-hmm. It definitely would. I just need to get off my Diablo.
Oh, hey! There's nothing wrong with you know what? I often say, like, hey, you know who's fun here? Asmodan. Does he work? Well, I mean, you could make a case for Diablo, not Asmodan, but either way. It's one of those things, like, you want to say it because, like, you're just like, maybe if I say it, it'll come true. But at the same time, going into this later half of the draft for IUPUI, I would look to see something like picking up your solo laner here, as well as maybe some of your main damage.
Ooh.
No.
I like it.
That is a
terrifying.
That is a hard draft to go up against.
That is a terrifying draft. One good mosh into a Dragon Blade means anybody in that mosh is now dead. They just don't. It's like Kenshiro. They're already dead.
They just don't know it yet.
Yep. Wait for the exploding heads. Because you got two incredibly valid D-shield targets in ETC and Genji.
I agree with all of that, but I wonder who's their solo lane, and are they gonna have all of their? Are they just gonna hyper carry off of a Genji then? That's what I'm trying to like, or because at the same time, I'm kind of like questioning my own. Like, I know the response to this. I want an Alarak right here. That's just me though.
Well, technically they could have the Brightwing solo lane.
That's
because
true. Because
they do have that Uther, or they could pick up somebody else like that Arthas. Garrosh is still on the table. Garrosh would wreak havoc on this squishy this squishy lineup. Like, if Garrosh tosses anybody back, Polymorph, Power Slide, well met, dead.
The only thing is, like, pretty much everybody on the side of University of Laval has an out. Tassadar has, he has his E, Burden has jump. Oh, that's a good pickup right there.
This is
Dreadlord Jaina.
I just call her Hourglass Jaina. I'm not sorry.
But at the same time, the one thing I want to note, though, is with the Garrosh, because Vala has the, she has the vault out. Lucio, he has the speed boost. So, I mean, it's not technically an insta, but it's, it's a boost. And then Malthael just has some, his dive that he can technically use if he can get his mark onto a member. So The Garrosh would have been interesting, but this Jaina, I like the Jaina.
These are comfort picks, because like since I've started casting Tespa, I've pretty much covered every single one of IUPUI's games except for one of them, and I've never seen Domavarian on a Brightwing.
Really?
He's usually the carry player. So, and we've got this is interesting.
Because in the past, I've casted him on different like chair league and things, and I was like, man, why do people consistently ban out Medivh? I looked at his profile later that night, and I was like, oh, because he plays a lot of Medivh. Like,
yeah, no.
That's what I was thinking, and because Infernal Shrines, it's a map where we can see Medivh come out, and the ETC so early, I was like, oh man, this is the last. I was like, maybe the last pick is that Medivh because you go Leyline Seal into a potential Mosh or something. So, and then you also have that Ring of Frost. Like, I honestly think if you swapped out Genji for a Medivh, this comp could be even more terrifying. I mean, the Genji is going to be great, but the setup and the damage that you could get from the Medivh would be also just really fun for us to cast.
Yeah, but on that same note, there's a terrifying amount of sustain on the side of Laval. Like,
yes.
Sound barrier, the shields. Just
Altheel's just got, if he's got his mark, he can Q. I mean, overall, their team is just going to do very well. Tassadar with Kala's Embrace at 4 onto the Vala is going to be just giving her health. So Murden will potentially go into the third win. It really depends on what he picks at this level 1. But either way, I mean, we're in for a treat, and this is 1-1. So this is the winner of this matchup. It will be determined. Either way, though, on the left hand side, we're gonna have IUPUI. TXE will be. I did it. TXE will be on that Jaina. Aqualad is going to be on that Uther. Zalori will be on that Genji. Domavarian will be on the Brightwing, and Bobby Frank will be on that ETC.
And on the side of University of Laval, Electromad on the Murden, Harry Blob on the Tassadar, Quantum is on the Lucio, Woka is going to be on, it looks like the Vala. I've never seen anybody use that color. And
it's
Earthshaker. Earthshaker is going to be on the Malthiel.
It's that everyone loves that mustard color Vala skin. It's semi-gold, I guess.
I never see that. I don't know what University of Laval's school colors are, so maybe it's a school color thing.
Could be. There's a lot of yellow in the colors currently, but either way, looks like we do have a little bit of a matchup here. And just one thing I wanted to point out, we actually have Tassadar going into the Psi Infusion at level 1, so that's going to be that stacking that he's going to get is going to blend very, very well into the later half of the game when he's going to be utilizing that to poke heroes down, as well as just clearing out these shrines with the double side that you can use at 13, I think it is, or 16, I can't remember.
I think it's at 16 is the double size storm.
Yep. But that's just going to be really, really powerful into the later half of the game here. But at this point, we just have Brightwing, as we talked about, kind of soloing up against Malthiel on top. Genji going a little bit of rotation, but just going back into bottom. Overall, this is going to be a pretty even back and forth game for the next 25 seconds till the first Punisher.
Yeah. IUPUI playing this pretty textbook. Nice rotation between them. Zalori, throwing out those shurikens. He's got to be careful not to give this. Well, no, never mind. I thought this Vala was going to go with the Monster Hunter build. Instead, goes Hot Pursuit at 1.
Ooh, and we're going to have a Brightwing falling very early in that top lane, and that's the unfortunately that's not what you want on the side of University of Laval, mostly IPIU. I'm sorry, got it confused.
IUPUI.
There you go. But either way, just that's such a really, really good early game pickup because of the fact that they can't just Z shift in. But either way, they do have the Genji in that top lane, just kind of soaking that up. It's just one of those things, like knocking that out really early, I think is going to kind of give a little bit of momentum for University of Laval, and they seem to be a very momentum-based team.
Yeah, but Domavarian just going right back to work, soaking this up. This shrine still hasn't been taken yet. They're going after Malthiel right now. They definitely want this kill. It looks like they're going to be... Oh, nice juke. And Domovarian barely survives. Zalori almost going down right there. Ends up getting away by the skin of his, I guess, his metal face. I can't really say teeth. I don't think he... Does Genji have teeth? Question of the day.
I don't know. He's a cyborg. That's all about the lore that I know about him, and that he's on the good side of Overwatch. Even though you all play together, so it's always confusing. But at this point, as just noting off the back of what you just said, they still have not activated the shrine, and some teams just not really prioritizing this first objective on this map. It looks like IUPUI will go ahead and just pick up the start of this and just make sure that they get the first Punisher in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really smart decision at IUPUI. They secured a small advantage with that pickoff onto Malthiel, but it looks like Domovarian is in a bit of trouble. Earthshaker not really willing to give up on him. Has to throw the polymorph onto Earthshaker. But again, as long as Domovarian plays this carefully, he should be able to just control this lane pretty well.
That's going to be, realistically, it looks like they're just going to keep him up there as long as possible, which will pull the Malthiel away. And if they do need it, they can Z-shift in it when needed. But the power slide will come out from Bobby Frank. Going to get a little bit of damage here onto Electromad. He's going to be actually chased out by Zalori. Going to be able to get out of there just fine. And at this point, I wouldn't be too surprised to see IUPUI go ahead and pick up this shrine and take this first Punisher. Mostly because of the fact that just the pressure that they have and the fact that they're going to leave, but they are going to try and come back in. Once again, Bobby Frank going to get the power slide out. We will have Aqualad getting Z-shifted in from Brightwing, but it won't be quick enough. He will be falling. Going to have some ghost healing for a little bit here, but you know what? They put the words right back in my mouth. They actually get the counter. Or excuse me, that was Uther just dying there. But they go ahead and they turn this around and steal it away, and University of Laval will take the first Punisher.
Yep. Well, not yet. Here comes Bobby Frank. He's going to try to get a little bit of damage. 36-35.
Quantum falling low. He will be killed in this engagement. Do have Zalori getting that reset, and that will be Malthiel falling as well. But at the same time, they do steal this away. We do have Genji falling at the last second to Vala. And so this is going to be a frozen Punisher walking down that bottom lane. And it's pretty early in the matchup. I don't see a whole lot of value going into this. We already have Tassadar and Vala splitting between the mid and top, making sure that they get that soak and just keep the experience gain. That's about a half a level here in favor for them on the side of University of Laval.
Yeah, this Punisher in the mid is just getting shredded, but the main thing to note right now is the full creep wave of experience just was lost in that mid lane. Zalori not there in time to claim it. And we've got about a half-level lead for University of Laval. And here comes Electromad looking to kind of punk IUPUI off that siege camp. Doesn't really work. And now they've got those siege minions coming up mid. Ooh, Harry Blob in a lot of trouble. Thought he had a life bar until Genji came up and snatched it away from him.
And that is going to be just the Tassadar falling here. Now, this camp was picked up and it will be cleared out of slowly. We do have a little bit of a skirmish currently happening in the mid lane. ETC will go ahead and get that knockback onto one of the members. We do have the Brightwing get the phase shift in here. Looks like ETC will be falling very low. He will be the first one to die during this engagement. Electromad going ahead and trying to get a little bit of damage on the Domovarian, but it won't be happening. We do actually have Zalori down here as well, but at this time, University of Laval, they have 10s. And they really want to fight here, and it looks like it's not going to be happening. We do have Malthiel currently chasing Domovarian in that top lane, but it looks okay. They were making the rotation on the minimap, and I was like, oh, that's a fight. Someone's about to die. But it looks like it's not going to be happening. But it looks like Zalori will be going up there as Genji just to poke up against Malthiel, just holding out there. They can potentially just get a kill to be powerful for them. But 10s are achieved on the side of IUPUI here, so they're going to go ahead and just be able to just kind of even this up and just take the fight they need to, especially with the Punisher that just popped.
Yep, and University of Laval grabbed this bottom siege camp. They should probably clear this out. Bobby Frank taking an awful lot of damage. Here comes Zalori with that Dragon Blade. Domovarian with an absolutely beautiful Emerald Wind. Electromad does get out. Genji has to run. Electromad taking an awful lot of damage. Aqualad now having to heal himself up, and now IUPUI now on the back foot. All the ultimates except for Tormented Souls getting used right there, and that's kind of scary.
That is... that is just such an insane back and forth, and just to basically lose all the cooldowns, that was realistically it. But at this point, we do have University of Laval going ahead and just taking over the majority of this shrine. They're about halfway through at this point. Do have IUPUI trying to kind of put themselves in here. Dumbledore in the bottom lane soaking up a little bit more. Probably going to utilize the phase shift here onto Zalori. That's going to be straight right onto one of the members. We do have the Tormented Souls being caught by Earthshaker, diving onto a few members here. There is the Brightwing going to be falling first in this engagement. Bobby Frank going to be taking quite a bit of damage himself. Going to have to walk away, but University of Laval, they're going to start this out, and they're going to be holding on to it. So we're going to dive in, actually going to get stunned out by Electromad, but just going to be able to walk away without a problem.
Yeah, that was a great dive onto the Brightwing, who was just a little bit out of position right there, and now this got very, very scary for IUPUI. Down a full level at this point, meaning University of Laval will grab 13s first, unless they can burn this Punisher down in a hurry. But the problem is it's an Arcane Punisher, and you hate these things.
They definitely do. It's just there's so much damage around you that it's difficult to clear and get poked down. But at this point, it looks like University of Laval, they'll just back off. They're going to go ahead and take this camp, this aggressive camp here, push up the lanes, and they're going to just play. They're going to be, actually diving onto Dalmavari in the bottom lane. He will be falling here, and so that's just going to be another strong pickup for them. Realistically, with that kill, I was going to say that they were going to play, push up the lanes, play a little bit safe, but they're going to go ahead and just drop straight onto that bottom lane, go right onto that fort, and start to push down onto this. And this is a really, really strong push, because I do believe that bottom lane has not been the only Punisher yet, so weakening on this lane is going to be very beneficial for them. We do have ETC sliding in here to disrupt and push them back, and it looks like they will back off.
No, they're got a creep wave right up behind them this time. Let's see, Bobby Frank takes a lot of damage between the Stormbolt and that hunting arrow. Oh, here comes the Dragon Blade. Domavarian shifts in. The Brightwing Bomb coming into play right there. There's one reset. Harry Blob in a lot of trouble right now. The D-Shield goes out. Maybe a bit too late at that point, but interestingly, not Ring of Frost. We see Water Elemental from the Jaina.
That's so weird, because you would have thought you would have paired that into a Mosh, or at least, utilizing it as a follow-up to a Mosh, or utilizing it as a setup for a Mosh. Because, if you use it and then people dive straight into that middle, boom, you slide in, you've got your setup. And a little bit of a knockback here, but nothing too crazy. Actually, Electromag going to dive in, get the slow onto Bobby Frank. Does have the power slide out. Malthael has rotated in from top lane. Going to be diving with the Tormented Souls on quite a few of the members. Stack just getting the mark out and just diving right back in, consistently being an issue. And ETC will be falling here, and that is going to be it. This is what I was talking about. They took down this fort, and I was saying that bottom lane, I think, was the only one that hasn't had a Punisher yet. Boom. Bottom lane, Punisher. Actually, no, the first one was bottom lane. So that's on me. I think top lane might be the only one that hasn't had. Either way, they have opened this up, and this is a really, really strong position for the University of Laval.
Yeah, they are in a commanding spot right now. IUPUI running out of chances here to close this gap, and they're gonna have to have some kind of response before Laval hits 16. They're taking this top camp right now, and they're gonna try to drag this out. We see Bobby Frank trying to come in, but Harry Blob there with the Psionic Storm.
They're just honestly, they're getting good lane push back here, and they're going to go ahead and they'll try and take this fight. Dragon Blade is out. There is the Emerald Wind as well. They've separated a few of the members out here. There is the Archon out from the Tassadar. They actually get the early kill onto the Malthael. He will be dying first, but the Punisher is still going to be walking down this bottom lane. Now, the other thing we have to note here is in top really quick, there is the Shaman camp that's been pushing up there for quite some time, but the other thing we have to note is that Electromad has dove in a little bit deep. We currently have ETC trying to get onto a few of the members. The Mosh Pit was knocked out before it was started. You can see that's on the 5-second cooldown. Looks like he will try and juke members here, but it looks like Bobby Frank will not be long for this world. Second one to fall in this engagement here, and the Punisher is starting to press onto this key front wall.
It should be making a jump here very, very shortly, and that should lead to the Punisher dying, but thankfully, University of Laval don't really get anything more than that front gate. They're going to rotate onto this mid keep, knock that out of the way as Malthiel heads to the top to take care of this creep wave and save that top keep. We do see Laval being annoying, taking this camp away from IUPUI. And
that's okay. They're posturing for a very strong fight here, and they actually use the speed boost from Lucio. They start to dive right onto Damaverian. There is the power slide in from Bobby Frank just to separate some of the members. The polymorph was onto Quantum there. They actually have the break it down used here. They're trying to keep Vala safe here. They get the D shield onto Genji. He's trying to dive out. There is the mosh pit onto a few of the members here, but there isn't a whole lot of follow-up damage. There is the avatar form used from Burden. Gonna go ahead and get the stun onto the Uther, and they are starting to chase these members down. We currently have the Uther falling first. We did have the Genji Hearth at that point, so he will be able to get out of there safe. So they just lose the Uther in this situation, but still, that is a little bit more of a level lead and still talent advantage for University of Laval.
Well, thankfully, with as close to being 16 as they are, looks like Domo is going to go to the bottom lane and soak 16 for IUPUI, but IUPUI really on the back foot at this point. They've got none of the forts left, and Laval still has all of theirs. I mean, this has been an incredible game. Kills count 6 to 9 right now, so a lot of back and forth being shown between these two teams. These guys are, I'd say these guys could be, top 4 heroes of the dorm team right here.
This is a really interesting matchup, and we were talking about boot camps and everything before this, and realistically, these teams are just this is a strong back and forth that we're seeing here. We do have IUPUI going ahead and starting out this altar here, and so they're going to try and get the Punisher first, and I believe this would be their first Punisher. It would also be a Arcane Punisher, which 15-16 minutes into the game, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, but here comes University of Laval. The Death Shroud does land on IUPUI, gets back, wants to reset, take care of this camp so it doesn't get any extra value.
They're waiting for Mosh.
Yeah, that's a great idea. University of Laval coming in, and here comes Bobby Frank leading the charge. Bobby Frank is just hunting for a good mosh pit right now, trying to make sure that Electromag does get caught in it.
He is the big knockout. If he can get the Vala and the Muradin, that would be actually. If he can just get a 5-man mosh, that'd be perfect. But we do have a little bit of engagement. There will be the Genji utilizing the Dragon Blade at this point. There is the stun out from the Vala. Lucio will be the first one to die during this engagement. We do have Malthiel utilizing the Tormented Soul, is going to get the kill onto the Uther here. Actually, Muradin going to be jumping into so many of the members of IUPUI falling so low. We do have the kill onto Malthiel at this point. Genji going to go ahead and use that reflect onto one of the members, but we have a 1-for-2 kills. And at this point, IUPUI, are they going to overextend here? Does Electromag get the follow-up kill? Delori going to dive into that backline, going to just dive right onto this Tassadar, who gets out of there with that phase shift mosh onto one of the members. They get knocked out of that right away. It's Delori trying to knock back the damage. And it looks like they're going to try and go for the kill here.
I don't know if they can get it or not, but Jaina does have incredible range. What they are going to do is secure this Punisher for themselves. And Uther will be up in time to take care of that camp in the mid lane, if they even care about it. Doesn't look like they do.
I think they're just going to focus on the push, I think, at this point. And no, okay, so it looks like I was just about to say, if anything, you send your Brightwing back, she clears, and then you just phase shift in. And what are they? So they're going to spread. They're going to spread out. They're going to let the Punisher naturally push the lane, and they're going for a pick on Davala here in mid. ETC and Genji currently diving onto her. Do have Electromad coming in here as well, and they go ahead and they disengage from this right away.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised at this. Storm Talents now are picked up on the side of University of Laval. I don't know if I can agree with this.
I wonder if it's because of the fact that it was so close to Storm Talents, they just said that they don't want to be anywhere near the objective because they could potentially fight off of that. Who knows? I mean, maybe they wanted to pull the team apart, and maybe that's how they're going to try and even up this experience. They can see some of the members. We actually have the Dragon Blade currently under a few of the members. Right Wing diving in as well with that phase shift. The D shield goes out onto ETC, and I think it might have been a misclick. Supposed to go into Zalori. Genji will be the first one to fall in this engagement. There is the leap out from Electro Mad. Power slide out from Bobby Frank. There is the Emerald Wind to knock back a few of the members from this dive. They are able to potentially get out of here, but actually Aqualab and TXT are getting so low. The Ice Block will be used, but I believe that is going to be Jaina falling here as well as Uther. And there's also, just to note earlier, Genji fell in that engagement.
I don't know if I think Laval can core off this. They're already posturing.
It's risky. Now, the other thing is, too, if they don't end here, Laval is potentially giving up that top lane keep if they don't end in this situation. Murd and Electromag a little bit low here, getting focused by the core. Shaker going to go ahead and just zone a few of these members away. They're slowly working down the core. Power slide out. Genji's up in 5. I think they might have this.
Ooh, the mosh pit does come out, but it only delays the inevitable as this core 6-3-1 and game over. Congrats to Laval in an absolute barn burner, honestly. That was...
What an interesting back and forth this matchup has been. After game number 1, it's going to sound rude, but I honestly thought that IUPUI, it was just going to be the strong, dominant force in this matchup. But University of Laval, they just came back and they were like, no, I mean, we can do some stuff too, and we're going to show you how we do it. And, I mean, overall, in both games, they push and they pressured so hard that I don't think that IUPUI could handle the amount of pressure and force that University of Laval consistently was putting onto them.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Laval just played so incredibly tight right there. Like they I was a bit worried with the cheese strat on Warhead
Junction.
Yeah. But
I think you know what? It's one of those things like, I don't know. I to be honest, I don't know if maybe some of the teams utilize this area to like test things out and just, kind of feel out some of their opponents. And so maybe it's one of those things that they felt confident up against IUPUI. So they just went ahead and said, you know what, we'll try out this weird thing. If it doesn't work, then maybe we'll come back game 2-3. It's an option. I mean, some teams are that confident, but overall, I don't think, as I said, that first game, it was a very, very strong draft, but I think the execution was a little weak because of the fact that I was saying there was Horrifies into Gusts and Gusts into Horrifies and just, things that weren't timed out exactly right. But overall, I mean, that was still such an absolute blast to cast that matchup right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm making sure we can get 5 because I've got to set the scoreboard up for Minnesota and of Waterloo. Our next game coming up here just very, very shortly. And kick back, enjoy the music. We will be back in about 5 minutes.